Click for IB Biology. Here we're going to be looking at the structure of saturated and unsaturated lipids and the properties associated with this kind of lipid. There's a PDF of the presentation in the description, which you can annotate with your own notes, and then later you can take the quiz to check your understanding. So let's take a look at this. So we've already covered fatty acid structure, the long chains of carbons with their hydrogens, and the COOH acid group at the end, which you can see in each of these three diagrams. However, the differences are in number 2, that there is a double bond here, and we call this mono for the single, unsaturated fatty acid. So this is a monounsaturated fatty acid. Alternatively, it may be that there's more than one double bond, so now we become a polyunsaturated fatty acid. So you can see these are illustrated here. There can be many more than 2, especially where chains are long. But there is actually 2 ways of organizing the structure around this bond, which is where we have the double bond here. If the hydrogens are on opposite side, we call this a trans fatty acid. But where we have the double bond with the hydrogens on the same side, then this is called a cis fatty acid. Using the simplified diagrammatic structure, we can see the consequence of being a trans fatty acid compared to a cis fatty acid. The trans fatty acid double bond is here, so the hydrogens would be located something like this, but with the cis structure, the hydrogens would be on this side. Notice this causes a tremendous bending in the structure of the fatty acid. Now the consequence of this is that with trans fatty acids, they can be tightly packed together, which is very much a feature of membranes. The melting point is increased, and there is reduced fluidity. And so, comparison with the cis fatty acid, primarily found in plant materials. With the decreased melting point, they tend to be liquid at room temperature. They are way less dense, tightly packed, and the membranes have increased fluidity. In broad terms, this reduced fluidity of the trans fats is associated negatively with foods in terms of their health benefits, whereas where we have increased fluidity, and the fatty acids, the cis fatty acids, are generally associated positively with dietary fats. So the trans are generally thought of to be not good for you to eat, but the cis fatty acids are. Let's just take a further look at their double bonds. So the number of double bonds. So a SFA means saturated fatty acid. MUFA is monounsaturated. So these 2 types tend to give relatively straight chains, higher melting points, and you would associate that with solid tissues like the fat tissue of animals as a storage mechanism and for insulation, as you might see in some of the adipose tissue. Alternatively, the polyunsaturated fatty acids, this one here, tend to be very bent. In fact, some of them can be tremendously distorted, as you can see from the diagrams here. This lowers their melting point, and they will be liquid. They greatly enhance cold resistance. They can prevent freezing in the tissues and have increased membrane fluidity. So these polyunsaturated cis fatty acids are found in structures such as Arctic cod membranes, where it's very, very cold for this fish in the Arctic Ocean. And you also find this kind of lipid in the cytoplasm of trees growing up in the boreal forests or the taiga, to prevent freezing of the cytoplasm. So it's important that throughout all of your biochemistry that not only do you learn the chemistry and the structures, but you learn their applications in the biological context. And finally, just another final look at the idea of the variety of fats, or lipids rather. So in animals, we have animal fats like this. We have waxes such as we find on the cuticle of leaves. There are the various oils that we associate with seeds and fruits. And then the final group, which we haven't mentioned but will develop in another part of the syllabus, are the steroids, which are modified frequently to form various kinds of hormones. But that's for another part of the syllabus. Links to further videos are appearing in the links below, along with the opportunity to subscribe and a link straight back to the playlist in the channel.